All right, welcome to the first and only World Next Door Global Leadership Seminar. I'll explain why that's only in a second, but this is a really exciting and unique event, and I'm probably the most excited person in the entire room because of this, but I'll tell you, a couple nights ago, when we brought in all these leaders, all but Ira wasn't able to make it, but we had a group of these leaders all come together for dinner the other night, on Thursday night. And we all met at Joe and Lisa Miller's house. I don't know where, oh, there they are, I see them right there. And all of us were blown, we had our hair blown back by just how incredible the experience was. Here were leaders who were changing the world, who were doing incredible things for God's kingdom, and they were all together in one room, and it was powerful. I think Joe said, I might be misquoting you a little bit, but you said something like, I feel kind of like the little house where they invited all the leaders from the G8 summit to meet. And I think it honestly felt that way. Now, here's the reason that this was so powerful. It's not just that these leaders were international people from different countries. And that was cool. I mean, that was kind of neat to hear different languages and to hear different people talking from their culture. What was really powerful about that was what these people represented. The ministries that these leaders lead are one of a kind. They are phenomenal. They are incredible. And I had the privilege of meeting each of them over the last 6 years with the ministry, World Next Door, that I had a chance to start a few years ago, and which is now coming to an end. Again, we'll talk more about that in a second. But let me explain a little bit of what happened when I met these different leaders. When I first started traveling for World Next Door, I was filled with optimism about my own capacity and my own ability to save the world. I thought I had all these great ideas. I thought I had the chance to come up with these great solutions to poverty and hunger and AIDS and HIV and all that stuff. It was well within my realm of capacity to be able to take care of. It did not take long for that idea to become quickly crushed in my head and my heart, because I realized as I encountered poverty, as I encountered hunger, as I encountered the realities of life on the ground for a large portion of humanity, I realized that my simple solutions didn't stand a chance against the crushing drive of poverty and injustice. And I kept discovering these systems of injustice where you'd think you could fix one problem, but then you found out it was connected to another problem, and that was connected to another problem, and on it went. And I'll be honest, I was filled very much with despair, and I had given up hope that I had any chance in my own power of doing anything to save the world. And I also lost a lot of hope for so many of the highfalutin aid organizations and brilliant Western relief orgs and all these people who were doing these incredible things. All of a sudden, I started to really question if what they were doing was actually maybe doing more harm than good. But in the midst of that despair, I was also filled with hope. I had the chance, like I said, to spend time with each of these leaders that you're going to hear from today. I had the chance to sit at their feet, figuratively and sometimes even literally, and hear them speak and hear them teach and watch them serve the last and the lost and the least. And all of a sudden, my hope began to spring up. Because here I was seeing not grand schemes in these brilliant, huge programs. I was seeing the local church doing the work of the local church. I saw local leaders who were engaging with the problems that their community faced, and they were doing it with the love of Jesus, and it was transforming their entire community. And I realized that even as I had only a limited capacity to stick around and to help for a short period of time, these were leaders who were in it for the long haul. And that's when my hope began to spring up, because I saw lives transformed. I saw communities being turned around, and I saw that these leaders were changing the world. So that is why we are here today. That's why this event is going to happen, because these leaders are the true heroes of the faith. And none of them would ever agree with me when I say that, but they are the heroes of our faith. And these are the people who we need to be sitting at the feet of and we need to be learning from today, because these leaders are the ones who are truly on the front lines of God's kingdom. They may not be famous. They may not be on billboards anywhere. They're not going to fill a packed stadium full of people, but they are the leaders who are changing the world, and we need to learn from their perspective. So, World Next Door is closing down the organization that we've run for the last 6 years, using stories to get people in the suburbs engaged in social justice. That's coming to an end. We've kind of run its course, and it was a phenomenal experience. But now it's time to move on to something else, and I'll talk about what I'm doing next towards the end. But we thought, what better way to end World Next Door on an extremely high note than to bring all these leaders here and have them teach us. So that's what we're going to do today, and I'll give you a quick little overview of what we're going to do. You all have in your program, you can see who's speaking and when, but essentially it's going to be a mix of some people will be talking, some of them will be kind of sharing just as if they were preaching or whatever, and some people are going to be interviewed, and I'm going to have a chance to interview these leaders and talk a little bit about their experiences. But you also have a chance to pick up my book. Now, I hate the idea of being like some sort of book salesman here and saying, oh, you guys should pick up my book, but I'm going to be okay with that now because A, all of these leaders and all of their ministries, for the most part, are in here, and you're going to be able to read more specifically about what they do. And there's a whole bunch of other ministries mentioned and stories that are not represented here. But even more than that, I feel fine selling as many copies of this as possible because I'm giving all the proceeds away, and it's going to be distributed to these kind of ministries. So if you buy a copy of this book, the money's going to go straight to one of these ministries. So anyway, you definitely might want to consider picking up a copy of this book because these are stories from the last 6 years of sitting at the feet of global leaders, and it's pretty cool to see it here not in the flesh. What do you call for a book? In the paper. Anyway.